Okay, so our recording is now started and we can get started. Good morning, everybody. Let's see what it says. Basil Ayman. So we were learning about people who are sort of in the middle and they're not royu to go to Gan Eden, so they're put into Gehenna for a little bit, and then they cry out to Hashem, and then they're taken out of Gehenna. Basil Ayman, no, they don't go to Gehenna. Rather, Barav Chesed, Mate Klape Chesed. The Rebbeinu Shalom, Dr. Rashi, on the second line from the top, Hoilu Mechzal Mechzaheim, Mata es a Hechra L'tzat Chesed Vein Yodim L'Gehenna. Forget, they don't go to Gehenna at all. If they're balanced 50-50, Hashem offsets the skill. V'aleim Omar David, and on people like those, David HaMelech said, Ahafti ki yishma Hashem es koili. I'm happy that Hashem listened to my cries. And over there it says there in the pasuk, the Gemara quotes five of Aleim Amar David Klal Parsha Kula, the whole parsha of Ben Ametzer said over there of Ahafti. I mean, Abdaloisi B'li Yoshia. I'm a dal. I don't have this chusim. I don't have what it takes. But nevertheless, the Rebbeinu Shalom helps me. So the Shita Basil is that even if you're a Beinani, the Rebbeinu Shalom bails you out. Now this isn't referring to the Gzar Din originally when someone is nifter. This is referring to years later, but Chiyas HaMesim. Hashem is going to save you by Chiyas HaMesim.
I once heard from Rav Shlomo, his question was, what are the chances that a person is going to be 50-50? Chance that a person will be exactly 50? What's the chance that the world is going to be 50-50, right? Because the Chazal always say that the world is going to be 50-50.
You should always look at everything like it's exactly 50-50, right. And you're Bechriya.
He says that the shepherd always ensures that it's going to be 50-50 because he pulls in punishments, because he pulls in chayvus, so that the world should be able to exist. A person should.
So the Abish is actively balancing the budget.
So a person, when we say that it's 50-50, it really is like that.
Uh-huh. Very nice, beautiful. Okay, what about the Poisha Yisrael B'Gufa? People who are Poisha Yisrael with their guf, and the Gemara is going to explain what those people are. Or Upoisha Umayis HaOilam B'Gufan, or Goyim who are Poisha B'Gufan. And once again, the Gemara is going to explain what that is as well. Yardin L'Gehenim, they go down to Gehenim. V'nidoyin B'Yud Beis Chodesh, and they suffer in Gehenim for 12 months. La'achar Yud Beis Chodesh, after the 12 months, Gufan Kala, their guf becomes completely destroyed. V'nishmasam nisrefes, and their neshama becomes burnt. V'ruach mifazrosam, and the wind blows their ashes. Now let's look into the Bach. V'nasin afar, they become afar, they become like earth. Tachas kapois raglei tzadikim, under the feet of the tzadikim. Shenemar v'soisem rishoyim ki yu efer tachas kapois ragleichem. You're going to the tzadikim are eventually going to crush the rishoyim, and the rishoyim will be like ash underneath the feet of the tzaddik. Aval, there's even a worse madrega. Good morning. We need a worse madrega here. Meaning, the Hamasaris, Apikarsim, and people who give over Klal Yisrael. Rashi explains what they are. Minim are anoshim asher habchu divrei lekim chaim l'ra. They're people who corrupt the words of the Torah, who explain the words of the Torah in a corrupt fashion, or Messiahs, or Malshinim, people who are malshin to the government on Klal Yisrael. There's a base here because the censor took out a word by Mishumodim, and those who converted to Christianity. The Apikursim, and Rashi says the definition of an Apikuris is Mevazel Talmidei Chacham. Shakafru b'Torah, that deny the Torah, and Rashi says that means Ein Torah min Hashemayim. They say Ein Torah min Hashemayim. That's what it means to be kafir b'Torah. It's man written. It's subject to critics. V'shakafru b'Tchias HaMesim, or they deny the fact that there's going to be Tchias HaMesim, or v'shapirshu midachei tzibur, or they separated themselves from the way of the tzibur. And Rashi says midachei tzibur means midachei Yisrael. They no longer are part of the fabric of the Jewish society. Or, right, the Rashi says the Gemara can explain, but people who put fear of of themselves into others. But the Gemara will explain more. V'shechatu, or those who did averes, v'hichtiu asarabim, and they also caused others to do averes as well. Kagoyin, Yeravim ben Avat, the Chavera, who induced Klal Yisrael to do avodah zarah, they're much worse. They're Yoridim leGehenim. They go down to Gehenim. V'nidoinim b'ledoyre doyros, and they're there forever and ever. They don't ever get out. Shenemar, because it says in the pasuk, "V'yotzu v'ro b'pigra anoshim aposhim bi." Let's see the lashon pasuk. I'm on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. I'm about halfway down the Amud, and we're discussing the real bad Balei Avera.
Sounds like Rishon, these bodies get burned, and Rishon are burned. The bodies are consumed, and souls are burned, are one up on the guys who are in the Ganem.
That's right. So it says v'yotzu v'ro b'pigur hanoshim aposhim bi. This is in Yeshaya. You'll see the crusts of the bodies of the people who are posheya. Kiteilatam loisamus. Their neshama will not completely die, and therefore they'll constantly be able to be punished and tormented. The isham loisifka, and therefore their fire will never go out because they'll never be completed. They'll forever and ever get punished. So let's see what it says over here in the puzzle. So Gehenim Kolav Ve'enim Kolav, even though even Lashad Lavai, where there's no Gehenim anymore, they're still going to be punished. Shenemar B'tzuram Levali Sha'oil, which means even after there's no more Sha'oil, even though there's no more Gehenim Katzoin L'Shel Shasu Mavis. Even when there's no Gehenim left, they're still going to be getting punished. Why? Why are they getting punished so badly? Why don't they ever have an end to their punishment? This is a little bit scary because they damaged the Zvul, the dwelling place of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Because it says at the end of the pasuk, why? Mizvuloi. Vein Zvul ala Beis Hamikdash. And the Zvul is referring to the Beis Hamikdash. Shenemar Bonoi Binisi Beis Zvul Alachal. I built for you a place of dwelling. The reason why this is so scary, because we know it says that Kol Shaloi Nivna Beis Hamikdash Biyamav, any generation who wasn't Zoicha to Binya Beis Hamikdash, we know such a person or such a society, had they lived in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, they would have caused that the Beis Hamikdash should get destroyed. And of these people, Chana said, once again, Chana is the one who's sort of being an advocate for these people. And like we said yesterday, is because she takes a little bit of the responsibility for some of the Balei Avera, because she produced Shmuel, and Shmuel Hanavi was the one who fooled Korach into continuing in his wishes. And Chana said, Hashem will cut down those who fight with him. Omar Yitzchak, by Avin, the faces of these Balei Avera that are going to be punished are Doimin L'Shulik Teir. Their face looks like the bottom of a pot, which is the part that the pot calls a kettle black, or the kettle calls a pot black, or whatever. I'm not sure what the saying is, but they have a blackened face. But Amar Rava, and now Rava is getting personal. The Inu, who are these people who are going to be punished and punished and punished? These are the shiny Eden of Bnei Mechuzah who indulge all day long in their gashmias, in taking care of themselves, in pashing themselves, and they're called Mekarin Bnei Gehenim. They're called Bnei Gehenim. So Rashi tells us who are these Bnei Mechuzah? They're fat and they like to pamper themselves. That's what they're called. So he called them Bnei Gehenim because they were so involved in themselves. I guess clearly that leads to someone doing all these averes that would lead them to go into Gehenim without ever being able to come out.
He said the Rosh was in footnote and in parentheses.
Right. So it's a footnote and in parentheses. Very politically correct. Okay.
And it doesn't mean that move. Although they will ultimately rise to join the company of the righteous Allah, they will always be mixing the Gehenna people into their indelible scorched mark of them.
So even if they do get a kapara, they'll oh, deep is from the end of heaven, deep is from the Gehenna mentioned.
I don't
What?
I don't want to say which minion the people would get it from.
I hear. Okay. I think Shmuel, you said over a story that you were watching the mikveh and that somebody was there after the summer with a tan line of a Speedo.
Yeah.
So someone said, "Oh, they hand him after you."
No. He said nice tan he got there.
Okay, so the Gemara. Amar Mar. So now the Gemara wants to drill down a little bit into understanding what Beis Hillel said. Beis Hillel says, "V'rav chesed," which means mata klape chesed. Rebbeinu Shalom will lean the scale towards chesed. In fact, Gemara, how could you say that? No one's going to go to Gehenna because Hashem's going to be mata klape chesed. We have a pasuk that we brought on earlier. You see, there are people who do go to Gehenna. So the Gemara, Hasan b'Poish Yisrael b'Gufan. The Poish Yisrael b'Gufan, they go to Gehenna. A regular balavera, Hashem is mata klape chesed. Poish Yisrael b'Gufan, that's who goes to Gehenna. In fact, Gemara, Poish Yisrael b'Gufan.
So what does it mean, Poish Yisrael b'Gufan?
We don't know yet. But it's you said Amrit Leslu Takanta. Didn't you say that they don't have they go to Gehenna and Nidin Bayubes Chodesh? So there's no way for them to get out of it. The Rashi, Amrit Leslu Takanta, the Nas and Efer, they become earth. The problem is that earlier it said that they become totally consumed and their earth gets put underneath the feet of the tzaddikim, but on this pasuk it says that Hashem actually uses the Yisurim to fix them. If they have roiv avonos and amongst those averes are poish Yisrael b'gufon, there's no hope for them. They're going to be totally consumed. But hacham mechza avonos, mechza zechuyos. But the isbu nami of the poish Yisrael b'gufon, if they have mechza avonos, mechza zechuyos, so where Hashem will save them. But the problem is, some of the mechza avonos include averes of poish Yisrael. So loisagale the lav the vesis hashalishis beish. You can't avoid completely the Eishel Gehenim because they have the Avera of Poish Yisrael B'Gufan. V'im Lav, so L'Shaglei the Lav because the Veis Eishel Space. V'im Lav and V'im Lav Rav Chesed Mata Klab Chesed. But you can't totally burn them because it does say Mata Klab Chesed. So they're in the middle. Alei Mamar David Ahavti Ki Yishma Hashem. That's where David said that Hashem listens to their cries. So they go to get him a little bit, but then they come out. Zok the Gemara, we still don't know what these Poish Yisrael B'Gufan are, so we still have to hold on. We're going to soon see. Dorish Rabbah, my dechsiva hafti ki yishma Hashem. So Rabbah Yudzayim Amalaf, the first wide line. Amra Knesset Yisrael Lefnei Kadosh Baruch. Knesset Yisrael told Kadosh Baruch, Rebbeinu Shalom, Ein Messiah Ani Ahu B'Lefnecha. When do I consider myself beloved by you? Bizman she'ata shemeya kol tachanunai. When I'm crying to you to save me from Gehenna, and you listen to me. I'm poor, you save me. Even though I'm very poor from mitzvahs, nevertheless, it's nice for me that you are going to save me. Gewaltig. Gewaltig. Before we go weiter and discuss what Poish Yisrael are, Tosfos, I want to learn this Tosfos because it's about the subject matter of pulling people out of Gehenna. So I want to learn that Tosfos. So Tosfos says ki leslu, so it's the third Tosfos on the top. Ki leslu takana b'roiv avonos. The isbuhu to have a lot of avers, the roiv avers, and the isbu avoid the Poish Yisrael b'gufan, and included in their roiv avers are also the aver of Poish Yisrael b'gufan. So they have to go to Gehenna. Mahadam rinon le'il b'shoyim danu ruben avonos nichtovim v'nechtomim la'alta legehenim. Avagav d'chsid b'kra l'deroin olam. So what does it mean? It doesn't mean that there's no takana for them, because there are other means. Eventually, they're going to become clean and they'll come out. So what does it mean that they go to Gehenim? Not that they don't have takana. El nedoinim shnei masachadish. The balei avera are going to be for 12 months in Gehenim, but olam, and then they're brought out. That's one of the reasons why we say Kaddish for 11 months. Because if you say Kaddish for 12 months, you're saying, oh, so my father was a Rosh. By saying it only for 11 months, we're saying that he wasn't a Rosh, but you're still saying Kaddish to protect him. There are 3 who go down to Gehenim and never come up. It doesn't mean they never come up. It means they don't come up right away, but they're there for a period of time. We learned that Poshe Yisrael, the Gehenim is not child. Here, the whole Gemara is saying that a Poshe Yisrael has to go into Gehenim. There it says Poshe Yisrael, the Oshel is not child. So that the Gemara says, I'm reading the love of Reish Hash's passing to Nachis Avram Umasaklu. Even Poshe Yisrael, Avram Avinu will go say. So the normal setup is a Poshe Yisrael has to go to Gehenim. If it's mechza, it'll only be for a little bit. But if it's roy, then he has to go for 12 months. But that's notwithstanding, Avram Avinu can still come and save him. So you have Avram who can come and save him. You have Nachum Breslov who can come and save him. You have Rabbi Yochanan who can come and save him. So there's a lot of ways. So there's always a way out, even when there's no way out.
So Avram Avinu is also in the Erevin, to bring down the whole.
Tosh being a Gemara in Erevin that Avram Avinu goes in.
Going and safe, or he stays at the door, and as long as somebody has a grist meal and he doesn't allow.
I'm not sure how it works. Because we did learn earlier in the Gemara that there are certain tzaddikim who could go in to pull people out. So I don't know how Avram does it.
And wouldn't go out.
It makes sense wrong that he doesn't make him
Also, Avram wasn't afraid. Avram's not afraid of big fires. He's been there.
Right. He's gone to them before. They can't get up.
Okay, so now we have to see what is this is a saying that Lubavitchers loved. Lubavitchers love this next saying. What is a Poshe Yisrael B'Gufa? So we're 5 lines down, obviously 4 lines down in the wide lines, in the intermediate lines. Poshe Yisrael B'Gufa Ma'inu. No, he's not. So Poshe Yisrael B'Gufa Ma'inu. What is the definition of a Poshe Yisrael B'Gufa? Rav said, Karkafta, a skull. The monach film that doesn't wear film. That is the definition of Poshe Yisrael B'Gufan. That's why the Lubavitchers are very into making sure to put on film for everybody, because they want to save you from being a Poshe Yisrael. They want to save you from being a karkafta l'monach film. And what are Poshe? Oh, Akiva's joining now. And what are Poshe Umais? Oh, Akiva's here. Akiva, we're learning about the karkafta l'monach film. What's a Poshe Yisrael B'Gufan? Karkafta l'monach film. Poshe umas olam b'gufan. A Poshe umas olam can't be someone who doesn't wear tefillin. A guy is not supposed to wear tefillin. Amar b'aveira, someone who is oduk in the aveira of a rise. Rashi said, Tosh at the bottom. Tosh says b'aveira b'rais shekein ben noyach muzar olav kedisha perk avamisos. Goyim are also prohibited from engaging in a rise. So let's see a little bit about the karkafta the leimanach tefillin. See how severe it is when someone doesn't wear tefillin. Karkafta the leimanach tefillin are toisvus. If you learn Torah, even though you don't wear tefillin, it's not called like a karkafta leimanach tefillin. If someone's being Isaac in Torah, hatim in that tefillin. So if you see that someone who's Isaac and learning could be part from tefillin, it must be that someone who's Isaac in Torah is also wouldn't be considered a karkafta leimanach tefillin. The hacha kishamisa bezuyala. When we say a karkafta leimanach tefillin, doesn't mean Tommy didn't wear it. It means the mitzvah is mevuzatim. Shemagunois olav rutui shel tefillin shabaroisha. He finds it repulsive. And he refuses to wear it because he finds it repulsive. That's a karkafta leimanach tefillin.
Is he talking about Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin only, or what?
I think any tefillin would take someone out of the category of karkafta. But it depends. There are some certain people who hold if you don't wear Rabbeinu Tam, you also have a problem with the karkafta. It's a good point. Aval im yorei laniach. But if someone's afraid to wear tefillin for somewhat of a legitimate reason, mishum de be'inin guf naki Kalisha Baknafayim. He's afraid to wear it because he's afraid he can't keep his guf naki. So it's not because he's not respectful of the mitzvah of tefillin. Kadisha Bereish from a time. Udoya Kol Shah Shemela Yuchal Izor L'Shomram B'Tahira B'Kedusha. He's not wearing his tefillin because he's afraid he won't be able to watch himself properly. Ha Vaday Ain't Olav Din Poishish Begufa. Surely that's not called the Poishish Begufa. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a period of time in history where people didn't wear tefillin for this reason.
No, it's the related Thomas thing.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good point. Like David brought up. But and that's why we always, this whole shaila, who's tefillin the right, the time of Rashi, how is it possible if we're wearing tefillin every day? We forgot that. But there was a time during the Rishonim, during the early Rishonim, where people did not wear tefillin.
No, if you go back to the early archaeology of Israel, about half and half were the Rabbeinu Tam.
Really? Wow. V'chol hani, the Shmaitzin, the Shlosh.
Yosy, what's the translation of Karkafta? I don't know if
I thought Kakapta means a skull, no?
I thought so too. I wanted to be sure.
And that's a very important point. And I want to get that in a second. So we're going to finish up the last one. The Soisvis. V'chol hani the Shmaitzin, the Shalosh, the Tshuva. Well, also Tshuva, I mean, B'yuma, the Tshuva, Toila, Misim, Amarek. So that would take care of even the Karkafta. The question is, why Karkafta? What about the Tefillin Shal Yad? Why is all of the focus on the Tefillin Shal Rosh? That's one of the shilas that's asked. I believe the Ben Yoyada says that it was common for servants, slaves, to be forced to wear some type of headdress that would indicate that they're avodim. We learned earlier that when the avodim go free by Yovel, they could wear an Atar Barashayan, which was a headdress of freedom. They would be able to wear that from Rosh Hashana, even though they didn't go free until Yom Kippur. So the reason why the focus is on the Karkafta, because when we're part of what we're testifying to when we're wearing tefillin is that we're avodim of the Rebbeinu Shalom. We're servants of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and someone who doesn't want to wear that symbol of avos to the Rebbeinu Shalom, that's where the avos is. So the main focus is on the tefillin shorosh. Okay, there was another category of people that also go to Gehenna, and that is the Shenasnu Chitisem Be'eretz Chayim. When they were alive, they put their fear into people. Omar B'chista, who is this? Zeh Parnis Hamatel Ema Yesera Ala Tibur Shaloi L'Shem Shemayim. A leader who needs to get results, who needs to accomplish things, and he makes people afraid, that's not for his own cover. But a leader who's doing it for no good reason, he's putting his fear into people, that's a huge affair. Amar B'Du Marav, so Parnis Hamatel Ema Yesera Ala Tibur Shaloi L'Shem Shemayim, Eine Roya Ben Talmud Chacham. He will not be Zoicher for a son of Talmud Chacham. Shenemar Lachen Yiru Anoshim. You'll make people be afraid of him. Lo Yira Kol Chacham Leiv. He's not going to see Chacham Leiv. He's not going to have children. Talmidei Chacham. Now Baron Kotler used to say over from Reb Chaim Volozhiner. Reb Chaim Volozhiner had a very chashuv brother. I think Reb Zalman Volozhiner. So Reb Chaim Volozhiner's father had some really chashuv children. Reb Chaim Volozhiner said the reason why my father had chashuv children is my father was a Rosh Kul. He was also a Pious Al Tzibur, and he was uber careful to make sure to be mechabed everybody and never ever to use his position to pressure anybody, and therefore he was zoicha to be a Pious who is not matal emi yisera, and he was zoicha to what it says in the pasuk the opposite of what it says in the pasuk. He was lawyer anashim. People weren't afraid of him. He was mechabed people, and therefore he was zoicha the children. Let's see the Gemara back. The Hillel says, "Rav Chesed, Mata Klape Chesed." Hashem, when the scales are sort of balanced, Hashem weighs the scale to do the Chesed. But exactly how does a Kodesh Baruch Hu do that? What he does is he puts his weight down on the mitzvahs, so he makes the mitzvahs overtake the Averis or outweigh the Averis. Shenemar. It's called placing your thumb on the scale of justice. Shenemar Yoshuv Yerachmenu Yichboish Avoyneseim. Now it's very interesting because there's two different expressions that we just read over here. There's Koib Shoy, which seems to indicate Hashem actively pushing it down, and Yoshuv Yerachmenu Yichboish Avoyneseim, who he causes our affairs to go down. One's a more active role, one's a more passive role. So I think the Ben Yoda speaks out that there's two things that causes us to do Averis. The first thing that causes us to do Averis is that Kadosh Baruch Hu puts us in a world that's full of temptations and full of stresses and full of difficulties. So Hashem is sort of inducing us to do Averis. So since HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us into a situation where He's almost inducing us to do Averis, Hashem gets actively involved in being kovish those Averis. On the flip side, one of the reasons why we do Averis is because we don't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in front of us. Hashem is very concealed in our world. But if Hashem would be very revealed to us in the world, we would likely be able to withstand our nisyonis because we see the presence of the Rebbeinu Shalom. So therefore it says, Yichboy Shavon Yisenu, since Hashem wasn't there to reveal himself to us, that was the issue. So Yichboy Shavon Yisenu, he'll cause in a subtle way for the Averis to be outweighed.
Why is it fair if you would conceal the pleasures of Olam Habo in the Svarim, and you would reveal the pleasures of Olam Haba in our world? Then it would be fair.
If you conceal Olam Hazeh and reveal Olam Haba, then it would be fair.
Yeah.
You make it the opposite.
Olam Haba is in the Svarim, right? And Olam Hazeh is all over the place.
Oh, now that you tell me the Kotzka, what I just said over was not from Ben Yoda, it was from the Bardisha, because I was looking to be Malamat Schus and Klai. Rabbi Yosy B'Chanina Omer.
You should know that the Yeoman Papermaster was a Rav in North Dakota. He was sent on a shlichus by the Kovner Rav in North Dakota, and he used to do brissim all over North Dakota. They put him up sometimes by going because there was no yid. Came down one morning and he saw that the lady of the house, you know what she was doing at 7 o'clock in the morning? She was wearing tefillin.
A shiksa.
A shiksa. She was wearing tefillin. They couldn't believe such a sight. The woman was wearing tefillin at 7 o'clock in the morning. He said, "A guy, right? What's going on over there?" So and he asked her, "Where did you get this? First of all, why are you wearing tefillin?" She goes, "Oh, it's good for my rheumatism." So he says, "And where did you get the tefillin from?" So she said, "Well, a Jewish peddler came by, and he sold his tefillin to her, and he convinced her that it's good for rheumatism." So Rabbi Yamin tried to buy the
tefillin back
from her. And he said for two reasons. One reason is because I wanted to save the film from being Zionis like that. And the second reason that she shouldn't be made on him that she's putting on tefillin and he's not.
Huh.
That was just a story that just came to my head.
Well,
The papermaster was the room.
No, the peddler.
The peddler wasn't putting on tefillin and she was being made. She's putting on tefillin and he's not.
wow. Rabbi Yosy B'Chanina Omer, Noise. Hashem doesn't push down the schusim, he lifts up, he lightens up the Averis. Shenemar, Noise Avoid, V'Over Al Pesha. And this represents the two ways that we are supposed to do tshuva, or the two ways that we're supposed to avoid doing Averis in the first place. A, we're supposed to get a haslavis in being mechazek ourselves, in doing mitzvahs, and we're supposed to appreciate the chaymer inyan, the severity of doing the averis. And each one has the effect, one of weighing down the mitzvahs, and one of lightening up the averis. Tanad ver b'shmo. It says in the pasuk, Maver Rishon, Rishon. Hashem takes away one aver by one. That's how it works. Hashem takes one aver away, and that's how Hashem does it. So I don't think it's quoting from a pasuk. Okay. So Zok to Gemara, Amar Rava, v'avain atzmai ein nimcha. It's Maver Rishon. Hashem moves it aside. He takes it off the scale, but he doesn't totally eliminate it. So let's see Rashi. Maver Rishon. Avain sheberishonim haboyim lositam lakaf. When they're coming to put the averis into the scale, Hashem pulls it up and pushes it to the side. If he had 50 averis and 50 mitzvahs, since Hashem pulled one out, then what would happen is the schuyas will be heavier because Hashem pulled one of the averis. But the oven Hashem keeps it at the side. Why? The ikaruba avoidance by day, if even after Hashem tries to be mataklap chesed, to still arrive averis, then then that aver will be accounted for. So going back to the Gemara on the third wide line, the ikaruba avoidance mechshev by day. So the Pashup shot is that if a person, even with all of these aids, will still not be able to make the cut, well, then he's going to get punished for all of his affairs. But I think the Berditchev says, Fakert, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu hold on to the affairs? He doesn't want to throw them away. Because if a person is Zoichet to the Tshuva Me'ava, it's avoinos, nasam l'keschoyos. Then all his affairs will turn into merits for him. So Hashem is holding it because it can have some value. Right now, the stock might be worth zero, but this stock might be worth a lot of money someday. So Hashem holds on to it. Rav Amar, kol mavral midoisa. Someone who's mavral midoisa. And what is the definition of mavral midoisa? The Christ is medaktik, limdoid mida, limitzarim oisa. He's not makbet to get back at anyone who causes him trouble. Rather, umaniach midoisa. He's mavral midoisa. V'haylach, he just lets them be mitzarim and he doesn't answer back. So if someone does that, Zok Gemara Mavirin Loy Al Kolpsho. And Rashi says that Mida connected Mida in Midas Hadin Midaktekas Achareyan, Hashem won't be medaktek on your affairs. Elamanachton by Lachas. Hashem will ignore them. Shenemar Noise Avoin V'over Al Pech. Hashem carries affairs and he pushes away the affairs.
This is the reason why nobody agreed with me and they wanted to go into Golos all over the place. We're in our shir, we get kicked out from here and everybody said, okay.
L'mi noise avoid. To whom is a Kadosh Baruch Hu noise avoid? L'misha over al pesha. Someone who looks away. Someone who looks away. That's the type of person that Hashem also looks away from his misdeeds. Rav Huna ben Yeshua Cholosh. Rav Huna ben Yeshua was not feeling well. And I always say over a story with my grandfather was in a hospice in Monroe. He was very ill, and he was in a place in Monroe with the top set up. So my brother was there visiting him, and of course he had a roommate. And one day the Chevra Kadisha barges in to start taking his roommate, and his roommate is alive. He says, so they said, "Oh, the Leibsnach, no problem. We'll be back next week." So the Gemara says a story as follows: Rav Huna ben Yeshua Cholosh. Rav Huna ben Yeshua got very ill and he was going to die. It looked like he was going to die. All Rav Papa l'shiyulabei. Rav Papa came to visit him to check up on him. Chazyo de Cholosh le'alma. He saw that it was very, very bad, and that it looks like he wasn't going to survive. Amalahu. So he told the people there, "Tzevisu le'zavdosa. Prepare his suitcases." In other words, prepare his tachrichim, because I think he's already passed. But in fact, he was mistaken. He might have been unconscious, but he was not nifter yet. And not only that, l'soif ispach. Eventually, Rav Huna ben Yeshua got healthy. So here, Rav Papa just said, "You're dead."
No, he didn't. He used a different. He used this Lashon Saginon.
I understand, but he said that he passed them off for dead. He said, "Prepare tachrichim."
No, but he didn't say tachrichim. He said prepare a suitcase.
Right, but it means
Either
tachrichim.
or.
What?
Either or. Meaning either you're going to go to the house.
No, that's not what he meant. No, he meant he's dead. He meant he's dead.
Okay.
So here, Rav Papa just killed Rav Huna ben Yeshua, so to speak, and now he's alive. He's a little bit uncomfortable. Have a mixer for Rav Papa l'machazir. Rav Papa's like a little uncomfortable to face Rav Huna ben Yeshua after he just pronounced him dead. Amar lei, so Rav Huna ben Yeshua said, "Don't feel bad. My chazos. Why do you feel bad?" Amar lei ein hachiyava, and he told him, as a matter of fact, you were not wrong. You were right. I was going to die. I was supposed to die. Maybe I even had a near-death experience because I had this following experience. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu said, since I don't stelzach, Rashi says, I don't fight. Don't be medaktik after Rav Huna either. It's okay. So technically, he says, I was dying. So you were not completely wrong. So you shouldn't feel bad. But I got saved because I'm over al pesha. You speak up so I don't hear.
Someone became a Rav in a town.
Right.
Right. And as soon as he became Rav, he was the father of some code for a verse. And they said, okay, hold on. The baby's father the baby's father rejoices. The baby's father rejoices. Right? Both of them are going to die. And
So we can name the baby after him.
Yeah, so
Adarabba.
right away now. No.
You don't know if he's here.
You have Eliyahu over here. He's here already, right?
So have him heal the chayla.
And hold on a second. The Rav also, once the Rav is speaking, he said also that there was a big tzaddik that also died, this Shlomo Kruger, and they moved him from a little town to a big town. Why they move him from a little town to a big town? He said,
No, before he died.
before he died,
Right.
because the misa of a tzaddik is
Mechaper. So let's
use
use him to be mechaper in a bigger area.
yeah, let's
Very nice.
get a
Nice.
bigger bang for the buck.
Okay. L'sheres nachalosai, to the leftovers, to the refugees of his nachla. So it's mashma that Hashem doesn't forgive everybody, only the refugees. Amar bacha b'chanina al yov v'kotzba. Al yov is the best piece of meat, but there's a thorn in it. Why? Because we dash on l'sheres nachalosai v'lo chol nachalosai. Some people Hashem is going to say, not all. Zok to Gemara. L'misha meisim atzmoi kishirayim. Someone who acts like he's a leftover, someone who's not makbid on this cover, that's the person that Hashem is going to be mechap. Ravuna Ram, Ravuna Harakash. Ksivit says tzaddik Hashem b'chol derachah. Hashem is a tzaddik everywhere, meaning righteous, means din. Uksivit chassid b'chol ma'isa. But then it says Hashem is a chassid, which means he goes with nimishus din, with rachmanis. So how does it work? Zok Ravuna, b'tchila tzaddik, Hashem l'chatchila wants to go with din. But when he sees that it's not going to work, because people aren't royu to be able to be under such scrutiny, that's why Hashem ends up going with the midas of chesed. Hashem chesed. It says Hashem is chesed, but then it says which is din. So the Gemara, betchila kiyat t'shalom k'maseyu. Lechatchila Hashem wants to go with din. Hashem chesed. Now here it's a little different because it says first l'chal Hashem chesed, and then it says kat t'shalom. So Tosfos says, let's look at the top Tosfos. Bachi Gomer, l'chal Hashem chesed. Hashem does chesed. L'kadosh l'fnim mishur sadin. Hashem goes into the l'fnim mishur sadin. When does he do that? Kishat roya she'ino elam miskayim kishat tishalom lish k'maseyu. So l'chal Hashem chesed. When I see that being mishalom lish k'maseyu will not work. Okay. Zok to Gemara weiter. Ilfi v'amri lo ilfa Rami had a kasha. Ksiv v'rav chesed uksiv v'emes in the shloisha shemidos. Betchila v'emes will be soif v'rav chesed. Again, once again, it's rav chesed if the emes will not work.
Why is it complimentary to always say that person is a tzaddik? By also, a person is a
No, for a person to be a tzaddik, it's good. For Hashem to be a tzaddik, it's not good.
Why is it a connotation?
Tzaddik means you're doing everything 100% the way it's supposed to be. So that's very good.
That person is a tzaddik is still a chesed. Isn't that how we know?
No, tzaddik means he's righteous. He does the din. He does everything halacha. That's also pretty good.
Tzaddik in our time is always known as the fellow who.
So you're talking about colloquial, how people use it.
Yeah. So how did it come to be used?
You know, tzaddik's a pretty good compliment. V'yavar Hashem upon the vayikra. So when Hashem introduced the Shlosh Shemidos, it was introduced with V'yavar Hashem upon the vayikra kili, like he put a talus on. Amar b'yochanan, il mole mikra kosev. If the pasuk didn't present this, as if Hashem is like putting on a talus and going to the Amud, to Daven, to demonstrate to Moshe Rabbeinu how it's done, you wouldn't be able to say this by yourself. Melamed teaches us, Kadosh Baruch Hu put on this talus like a shliach tzibur, Moshe said it tefillah, and he taught Moshe Rabbeinu b'me Daven. Amar lo, he told him, because man Yisrael chaytim, as long as Klai Yisrael doing averis, yasu lefanik yeseder hazeh, do these shloisha shemidos, v'ani moichel hem, I'll be moichel. And now the Gemara analyzes the shloisha shemidos. Hashem, you say Hashem twice. It's actually a machlokes in the Rishonim if this is two of the shloisha shemidos or one. But we understand that it's two. And you kodim shiachta. I'm the same Rebbeinu Shalom who has rachmanos on you before you do averis. Kodim shiachta adam. V'aniyu la'achas shiachta adam v'yaseh tshuva. After a person does an aver, he does tshuva. I'm still the same Hashem with the same rachmanos. Kel racham mechan. Amar bida bris krisa the yud gimel midos. There's a bris that's set with the yud gimel midos. She'enan chayzus rekam. You never return empty-handed when you use them. Shenemer hine anochi kairos bris al amar lamaila. Right after the shloisha shemidos, it says hine anochi kairos bris. It's the last aliyah of the shlich tzibur of the tiny tzibur. So there's a bris that this will work. Amar b'yechna geduelu tshuva shemikares gzardin shalom. Tshuva can tear the gzardin of a person. Shenemer hashmein leiv al mazeh. He was telling the Yitzhara, fatten up the hearts of the Klai Yisrael. V'oznav hachmei b'nei hesha. Why? Because we want to diminish their awareness You know why? Because if they have an awareness, the Satan says, if he gets awareness about his awareness, he'll takadu tshuva and then he'll have a refuah. So you see that a person will have a refuah from his tshuva. Maybe this Vishaber Rafalai is only before the Gzardin. How do you know that even after the Gzardin, that person can do tshuva and get saved? It says he will be healed. What requires a refuah? Obviously, something that bad happened already. So you see that even after Gzardin, you can have a Vishaber Rafalai. Meisvei. It says, Hashav ben Tayim, if you do tshuva between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, then Moichelim. Loishav ben Tayim, and then there's already Gzeira. I feel like because even if you brought the most beautiful karbanis in the world, ain't Moichelim Loi. So you see, tshuva does not help after Gzardin. For a Yachid, maybe you can't turn over a Gzeira once it's done. But a Tzibur could turn over a Gzeira. Meisvei. It says, Einei Hashem Alekecha Ba. Hashem is looking at Eretz Yisrael. Itim l'toiva, itim l'ra. Sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's bad. Talk to Gemara. Itim l'toiva, Ketzat. Hareisha Yisrael Rishayim Gemurin Rosh Hashana. Imagine Klal Yisrael was Rishayim Gemurin Rosh Hashana. Because of that, Upaskul Hem Geshamim Moatim. Hashem said, okay, you're only going to have a very small amount of rain. And then l'soif chazubren. After that Gzeir, where there only a lot of the minimal amount of rain, they did tshuva. Hashem can't add now rain to their budget. So what do? HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes the rain very efficient. HaKadosh Baruch Hu maridon bismanon al haaretz. Hashem makes it rain exactly at the right time. Lufnei azriya, before you plant, Rashi says, hatzrich alahem, alor tatzrich alahem. It doesn't rain on concrete parking lots, but Hashem will make it that it should rain on the sadois and the krumim and on the ginos. So therefore, it'll work well. So in other words, Hashem will use the water in the allotment very, very efficiently to deliver it precisely where it's needed, so they'll have all the benefits of the rain.
How is that part of the Gzardin? How the rain is going to be used?
I guess the vice versa is not.
He reserves that right. So then the whole Gzardin is not so scary.
Well, there's always a way to be misakin. That's
not so scary.
It's still pretty scary, you know.
That's what it does get misguided. Like you're starting off with a low thing. If you're only earning $1,000 for the year,
It's better to have a lot of money than to have to budget and make it work. Itim l'ra. Sometimes it works against us. Ketzad. Hareisha Yisrael tzadikim gemurim Rosh Hashana u'paschalem sham merubim. They had a windfall. They had a good Gzardin. And the chazur ben, and then they went after there. They were doing averis. Livrosh when you have shekvar things are gzeira. You can't take away some because they already had a gzeira. They can have a lot of water. Elakadosh Baruch Hu marin shlebes manon ala arich ain't trichalen l'toiv. So zok the Gemara. I'm sorry. Elakadosh Baruch Hu marin shlebes manon ala arich ain't trichalen. Hashem puts it and delivers the rain in a non-efficient way. So even though they have good gzei of rain, it won't be maximum. I understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu won't tear up a gzardin of toiv, but if it's a gzardin of ra, to better it for us, maybe Hashem should tear up the gzardin. So the Gemara, shiny hosam deb shabachi. Ein echanami. If yidin the tshuva, because we're saying a rabbim. We're trying to say that the kash is if we're saying that a rabbim could tear up a gzardin, which is what the Gemara said earlier. So why can't the rabbim tear up a gzardin? If that's necessary, avada, the tefillas harabbim and the tshuva of the rabbim could be poilois to undo a free gzera. That's only if that's the only way to rectify it. But since Hashem could give Klal Yisrael their deliverance and save them without changing the gzera, then we don't need to do such a radical thing as change the gzeir. Hashem just will make the rain allotment be more efficient. Tashma.
So 1 second. So it's not. So the fact that it's pouring now is not shared that it was supposed to pour at this and this hour. So the hour is flexible. The day.
The hours and the place. The hours and the place will be flexible.
just
So it
the
doesn't have to rain
quantity
in
of
the
rain.
I'm sorry?
So just the quantity of rain it has to
Exactly. That was the Gzeira, and
Right.
how it's distributed. You know, Hashem can make the rain come into your basement, or Hashem can make the rain go into your vegetable garden. Tashma, Yerda Yam Baniyos. People go in the Yam in ships. Oisem Malacha b'mayim Rabbim. Hema Ro Ma'as Hashem. They see the Ma'asim of Hashem. We say this Arab Shabbos. V'yomer v'yamed ruach zara. The wind stops. The Terem Galo. I'm sorry. There'll be a big wind, and it'll shake up the sea. There'll be big winds. Yechoygu v'yanu kishikar. V'yitzaku el Hashem b'tzar lahem. They daven to Hashem, and Hashem saves them from this stormy sea. And then Yoydul Hashem Chas Toiv Niflois of the Yodam. Then they thank Hashem. So in these psukim, the Gemara tells us, Asay lahem asalem simoniyos ka'achen v'raken shebetoyra. And Rashi says simoniyos. There's little notations in the psukim bein pasuk lepasuk yeshimonim achfuchim kazeh. So if you look there in the capital, you have these upside down nuns like by being iron, just like achen and raken. Look, Rashi boin ledrasha lemait sadiba. It's coming to tell us that to limit what the actual words are saying. Ka'achen raken shemutim loimer loy b'chol shah sitzaku el Hashem b'atzar lahem yotzivim tukaseyim. Not every time they beg Hashem to save them from Torah will Hashem save them. Elim kin tzaku kodim gzardin, unless they cried before the gzardin. Loy malach to teach you. Tzaku kodim gzardin nenin, but tzaku lachak gzardin einu nenin. So, correct the Gemara. You hear you said a rabbim even could cry after the gzardin and reverse the gzardin. Here, people are traveling together, so they should be able to change the gzardin. The Gemara haninamik yichidin damu. These people are also considered like yichidin, and therefore they're not able to change the Gemara din. Tashma. Shalom Beluya Hagiyaris is Rabbi Gamliel. Beluya the Giyaris asked Rabbi Gamliel the following child. Sivatayrachem Asher lo yisapon. Hashem does not show favorites. Uchsiv, and then it says in Birchas Kohanim, Yis Hashem panav elecha. So how do you make these two things tim? Does Hashem show favorites or not? Nitpalo Rabbi Yosy HaKohen, and Rabbi Yosy HaKohen engaged her and told her, Amr la, I'm going to give you a mashal that'll help you understand that. If someone owes his friend money, the kabbalah is man b'fnei hamelech, the nishbaloi b'chai hamelech. Imagine Reuben borrows money from Shimon, and Reuben tells Shimon, I'm so sure I'm going to pay you back. Let's go in front of the king, and I'm going to swear in front of the king that I'm going to pay you back on this and this date. The time arrived, and Reuben didn't pay back Shimon. Can you imagine what a chutzpah that is to the king? Here you swore in front of the king, and you're violating your shvuah. So he's afraid the king is going to kill him. Bolafais is a melech. He's going to come quickly to ask mechila from the king. V'amr loy, the king will tell him, El baini machalach. I have no problem. I'm moichel. That you were mavaz on me, you violated your promise you made in front of me. But leichu payis es chavercha. You have to deal with your friend. You still owe him money. Hachanami kan v'aver shebeinodam lamokai. Yid Hashem panav elecha is by aver shebeinodam lamokai. Hashem's happy to be moichel us. But where it says Asher lo yizaf on him is kan v'aver shebeinodam lachaveroi. By aver shebeinodam lachaveroi, there Hakadosh Baruch Hu cannot be moichel. At Shabar Rabbi Kiva v'linoi. And then Rabbi Kiva came along and said, Kan kodim gzardin, kan lachak gzardin, hachanam abiyach. Until Rabbi Kiva said that the chiluk between whether or not you could reverse the gzeira is if it's before the gzardin or after the gzardin. You could say this is by a yochid, and by a yochid only before the gzardin you could change it, but you cannot change it lachak gzardin. Okay, so let's stop here. Shkoyach.
Good.
Yosy, I was on earlier.